Hello and welcome. I'm really excited today to be here with Evan Walther. He is a multiple national record holder and continental record holder in freediving. He's a coach and a competitive freediver himself and an instructor. Evan is known for his ability to be able to hold a safe, empowering space both in and out of the water. And his freediving practice over the years, he's really worked to sort of optimize both his body and his mind, developing a comprehensive understanding around the nervous system, discovering that breath and stillness and the ocean are amongst the most powerful tools for calming the body and accessing inner stillness. Evan is working with Wild Within as a facilitator, and we have an up and coming workshop, which I'm very excited and I'll tell you more about at the end. But for now, let me bring in Evan. Evan, it's so lovely to be here with you. How are you doing?
Hey, Kim, I'm doing great. It's lovely to be here with you too. Thanks for bringing me in and making time. Really excited to be doing this with Wild Within. I love just sharing my experience and what I've learned with people who are interested in freediving, and I want more people to have fun and go get in the water with, right? So that's my biggest inspiration for the whole thing.
Absolutely. We're very much on the same page there. It's beautiful. And I really want to get into sort of your story. But before we do that, I would really love to hear. Tell me a little bit about how and why freediving has been such a powerful transformational tool in the water, but also I'm really interested to learn how it's impacted your daily life.
Yeah, that's a super interesting question, right? I've heard a lot of people who don't necessarily what did I say? Who aren't necessarily high level free divers say like, oh, it's all mental, right? And I guess yes, it's all mental, but it's also all physical, if that makes sense.
100%.
Um, and
100%
so
mental, 100% physical.
you need to have it all there and working, right? And so what it's really done for me that has been so powerful and transformational and like really something that I've used to orient my life around is that you need to have all the things working and you can't ignore anything, right? And so your life needs to be in balance, your mind needs to be in balance, your relationships, your finances, your like there's no aspect of your body, mind, or life that you can ignore, right? If you want to fully realize your potential and to be able to express it. And I think that's probably true for most things in life, but freediving makes it really freaking obvious.
Yeah, we meet ourselves in the water, don't we? Everything kind of gets reflected.
You've got no choice.
Yeah. I'm interested. So I know for me and my freediving journey, I've actually noticed quite sort of significant which byproducts of freediving, which I didn't necessarily expect. So definitely more resilience, just my capacity to be with the uncertainty and challenges in life, the ability to pause in the moments of overwhelm. I'm wondering if you've noticed anything kind of on those lines that you see in your sort of smaller day to day.
Yeah, definitely. So as a competitive free diver, and a lot of the free diving I do competitively is in a pool, which is a little bit different than depth in that, when you're doing depth, you get to the bottom and then you've got to come back up. And you you don't really want to go to the edge. And once you've gone to the bottom, you have no choice but to go back up. In the pool, you can sort of choose any time to come
Mm.
up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so you your actual goal is to push yourself right to the brink of drowning and come up safely, right? And so, like the whole, you're actually teaching yourself to have a very different relationship with discomfort,
Mm.
and I've actually used it as a trigger to find more relaxation, to find more calm, to find more centeredness, and yeah, that absolutely carries over into everything else that you do. Um, and so much of, I would say, almost any personal development I've ever done is about creating a space between like the sensations in your body and like the physical feelings and like what you do with that, right? So often we do just go straight into stories and we already know what it means and we've already got an interpretation and we're, emotions are a story about those physical feelings and sensations, right? And then there's a whole library of things that you have of behaviors of what you're going to do on top of that. And so freediving is a practice of rewriting those. And so once you can do that in this sense, like you've got a playbook to do that for everything else in your life.
Beautiful. I'd love to hear more on how you have kind of created these triggers on that like resistance piece, and then how you actually sort of retrain yourself and bring in that relaxation.
Yeah. So with with I'm going to take a maximum dive as an example in the pool, right? So I take a big breath, I push off the wall, and then I'm swimming as far back and forth as I can on a single breath. Um, Typically, I mean, it varies for everyone, but let's say 50 meters in, I'm starting to get the sensation of like, oh fuck, I need to get out of here, right? And so what most people don't realize is that that feeling is primarily driven by an increase in CO2,
Mm.
right? It's not low oxygen. It's an increase in CO2 with some depletion of O2. So there is some aspect of that. And it it's it's actually a signal that your dive response is starting to kick in. And so, to like fully understand this, we could, go super nerdy, so I'll just kind of gloss over the top of it. But basically, the dive response is your body's reaction um to increasing CO2 with some dip in O2 to preserve your O2, right? And so it's protective. And so much of this like rewriting that story is and I again think this applies to everything in life, is understanding that like actually there's a different explanation here,
Mhm.
right? And that this this feeling that is driving me to want to get out is actually a like it's there to protect and serve me, right? So it's decreasing my oxygen consumption and it's giving me energy to do something, right? And the you kind of if you like think about okay, what could the evolutionary purpose of this being? It's like it is driving me to get out, right? It's giving me energy to do that and with urgency to some extent, but it's not actually dangerous, right? And that's like one of the key pieces to truly understand is that it's helping me and it's not dangerous. And so you start to I literally have the self-talk to remind myself of that during a dive. Um, and there's different versions of this and different stages of this throughout my progression, and my relationship with it all has changed. And so you approach that gradually and voluntarily, which is a really important piece of the psychology and nervous system training of it, without overwhelming yourself. And the first and curiosity if you can,
Mhm.
right? Like, what am I actually feeling? Because you think, oh, I'm panicking, I'm stressed, I need to get out of the water, all these things. Again, those are stories. What are the feelings, the physical sensations in your body? For me, I get like a warmth in my chest, and maybe I feel like I need to swallow. And it's changed, in many ways over the years. Um, but eventually it's not even just, oh, can I be curious about what's happening, but can I use this as a trigger to relax even more, right? And so that is sort of the progression. I wouldn't say that a beginner is going to go straight into using that as a trigger for
Yeah.
more relaxation,
Yeah.
but they can use it as a trigger to be curious,
Yeah.
right? And so, which again, I think is in life in general is the key to learning to deal with and explore discomfort.
Mm. And I'm curious, sort of on that note, how much and how important is focus for you in like where you're placing your focus during the discomfort?
Yeah. That's a really interesting question. And I would say that my focus moves around, right? Um, and what do I mean by that? I will oscillate from a direct focus to a distributed focus. And sometimes I'm not sure, like almost like a subconscious kind of focus, if that makes sense, right? So at certain times, um, and it also depends a bit on the dive, right? It's going to be different in a dynamic versus a static. A static is just holding your breath and not going anywhere or doing anything, or versus a depth dive, right? And also the purpose of the depth dive, right? So in a competition, you're stuck to a line and you're just going down and back up, which would have a very different set of focus from diving to explore the kelp forest or going spearfishing or, all these different things, right? And so, I've actually done exercises where I take out a notebook and I go through all the different stages and pieces of a specific kind of dive that I'm focusing on and where my attention should be, right? And so, like at the beginning of a dynamic dive, I take a couple seconds just to orient myself and feel where I am in the water, right? After that, I'm going to focus on my rhythm, okay? Arm pull, recover arms, kick, right? And then in between each of those things, I actually place a little static. And so then arm pull, relax, recover, relax, kick, relax, right? Um, and I can go into a bit of a trance during that kind of thing. And it's very much a flow state, right? When it's really on and you're really having a good dive. One of the things that I love so much about freediving, so we're going to get to my origin, like how did I get started? But from my very first dive, I realized I'm in a flow state like that, right? It just
Mhm.
forces you into it. And I couldn't, pay attention to or think about the email I needed to send or the errand I needed to run or any of that whatsoever. And so, I mean, as I've done it more, yeah, I've had dives where my mind's somewhere else. But it's I eventually got, relaxed enough that I could do that.
Yeah.
But it's for me, I was never a person who was very good at just like sitting down and meditating, right? It was
Yeah.
always a bit of a challenge, and I felt like I got mixed results from it, I guess I would say,
Yeah.
right? And that relationship has changed as well. Um, but yeah, did I answer the question?
Yeah, no, that's
Can we go
great.
on?
And I love your point,
Yeah.
actually. I was also the same when it came to meditation because it's this sort of paradox where you're, with free diving, where you need the mindfulness, you need the presence, you need to kind of let go of the monkey mind. And yet, for us sort of high energy kind of people, there is a sense of going somewhere as well. And I think also aided with the physiology of when we've got our when we're holding our breath underwater and the mammalian dive reflex kicks in, that also supports that meditative type state. So yeah, it's definitely become that kind of practice for me too. Um, yeah. Uh, Something I remember actually, I did one of my first pool training courses with you, and I was so nervous. I was so overwhelmed. I was like, "Oh my God, I've been in the ocean a little bit, but the pool felt super intimidating." And I remember you sharing with us your story of how you got into it, and it was so great. I'd love if you could share with everyone, yeah, like how you got into freediving.
Yeah. So it was actually during COVID. We were stuck in the Western Cape, not allowed to go anywhere. I was with some buddies and we were, on a balcony overlooking the ocean going, well, what can we explore around here that we haven't yet? Oh, maybe that, right? Um, and at first we're like, oh, should we take a scuba course? And it was like, yeah, but that's a lot of equipment. And how often are we actually going to, go drive down to, like an hour away to go get the gear and then go do it? And why don't we do free diving? We barely need anything for that, right? Of course, I say this like 5 pairs of fins, 3 monofins, and a dozen wetsuits later. Um,
100%.
yeah, yeah. But for a long time, we didn't need much equipment. If you remember during the early stages of COVID, there were like all these shipping issues, so I couldn't even get a wetsuit. I was diving in like 9-degree water with no wetsuit.
Oh my God. Jesus.
I got to the point where I could do an hour and a half, which I
What?
couldn't do now.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, that is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
insane. That is insane.
I actually think it really helped me when I started doing competitions as well, because the reaction your body has to the cold is very similar to the dive reflex. And
Yeah.
so I think it gave me a really strong and powerful dive reflex like right away.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think there was a benefit to that. Whether or not I'm advocating that is a whole other question, but it was the reality of the start of my experience. And okay, so we went and took this first course. The first day, the conditions weren't very good, right? And so they didn't want to take us out into the water and teach because they thought the conditions would be really good on day two. And so we spent the whole day in the classroom, like sitting on the floor, and doing dry breath holds. I hated it.
Yeah.
I was so miserable. Um, sitting like I don't have the most mobile hips, and so like sitting on the floor has always, I just end up sore and cranky. And I, yeah, dry breath holds were a whole thing for me as well. And I mean, even in the early days, like just training breath holds at all was a challenge for me. There were 12 people in the class. I'm very competitive, and I was 10th in the breath holds, right? So one of the worst, like significantly. There were plenty of people holding their breath at least twice as long as I was. I passed the course, but I was not impressed. Right? And so like we had to drive like an hour home afterwards, and I remember on that drive thinking, I don't know if I want to come back tomorrow. Fortunately, um, on the second day, the dive ended up being very close to our house. So I was happy to go and like at least get in the water. And I, yeah, I just remember we were at Cozy Beach, and we swam out just beyond the kelp into this area where it's like a sandy bottom and it's like 7 or so meters deep. And we've got these like big boys with a line and a weight on the bottom, and they drop it down and just like, take a dive, do a duck dive, see how far you can get to even get to the bottom. That would be cool. If not, no worries. And I just kind of like dive down and I come right back up, and he's like, "Oh, cool. You seem okay. Next time, if you want, you can dive down to the bottom and swim around a little bit." I'm like, "Oh, okay." I was like, "Wow, that seems a little crazy, but yeah, sure, we'll try that." Because it felt pretty deep, you know? Um, and so on the next one, I dive down, I kind of look up at him and I give him an okay sign. And he's like, yeah. And so I then start to swim off. And this is just like one of those days where the water is just like crystal clear, and it's probably 20 meters viz. Like
Wow,
it's
it's
a
great.
very species.
Cape Town. Yeah.
Right? And I remember as I looked up, you could see like the little individual rays of golden sunshine coming down through the water. And that day, the water happened to be full of sea cones, which they're like, I don't know, they're the size of like a little pickle, right? And kind of like the shape of a little pickle, but like the texture of a jellyfish almost. And they have these like little seams, almost like a rugby ball or American football kind of thing. Um, that when the sun would hit them, some of them would sparkle more of like a purple and others more of like a purplish rainbow.
Wow.
And it's just so beautiful. And you look then towards the kelp forest, and I started swimming towards it. And the kelp forest, like the tubes are, or like the stalks are tubes, right? So they're hollow. When these individual rays of sunshine would strike them, they glow, right? And so it feels like you've entered this gorgeous alien world. I'm swimming towards it, and I run into a little school of fish, right? And I've been around the ocean before and in lakes and gone snorkeling. And so far, my experience when I run into a school of fish is just like, from the surface or swimming or whatever, is they all kind of scatter, right? And they want to get away from you.
Yeah.
And suddenly, like, I'm just down there holding my breath, not making any bubbles or any noise, and like I'm swimming with the school of fish. They've accepted me as one of their own, right? And it's like, wow, I am in this alien world, and I'm an inhabitant now. And like I said, I was just so present in the whole thing, where I couldn't place my mind anywhere else if I even wanted to. And any worries or anxiety about anything else I had in the world were gone.
Yeah.
I
I think
came up from that dive and was just like, wow, this
hooked.
is it.
I'm hooked. Yeah, I think there's something, those moments of awe and connection with nature, I just think are so important for the human psyche. Like
Mhm.
we can't put really words to that kind of experience, and yet somehow it deeply changes you and impacts you. I mean, we talk about sort of resilience and stuff, but also for me in my freediving journey, bringing in that connection with nature again totally changed me. And I would count myself as quite a conscious person, but just having that much more awareness of like this beautiful world that we're in, has been really significant in my life, actually. Yeah. So I love that you shared
Yeah,
that. Thank you. Beautiful.
it completely changed my relationship with the ocean in so many ways. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd love to just hear, and we don't need to just lastly on the last little bit. Obviously, at Wild Within, we do a lot of work around the nervous system and really how that impacts and shows up in freediving and then supports us in daily life. How have you experienced kind of understanding your nervous system and how that supported you in both areas?
Yeah. Interesting. So, we talked about this sort of being 100% mental and 100% physical. And like, I guess I would say the nervous system kind of, to some extent, like tells you where you are on both of those, is kind of a thing that I've noticed, right? And so, um, specifically from a nervous system perspective, the biggest thing I guess was becoming aware and tracking, right? Of like, where am I, right? How do I actually feel? How much capacity do I actually have?
Yeah,
And how do I behave differently when I have less capacity,
yeah, beautiful.
right? Is
Yeah.
a really important one as well. And what can I do about that
Yeah.
also?
And also not making it wrong, just as you have previously said with curiosity, right?
Just
And
where I am today.
then
And
every
and so it's
dive can be
like,
different, every day can be different. Yeah.
yeah. And it's like, okay, this is where I am today. What does that mean? How does that impact me? Um, how did I get here? And you can look at all those things, and again, ideally with curiosity and no judgment, to say, okay, well, oh, when I do this happens some of the times, at least. There might be a pattern here worth looking at.
Yeah.
Um, which again, like the foundation for any kind of change that you want to make in your life.
100%. I always say that we can't take our survival strategies into the water with us. Well, we do, but like if we want to go deeper, because there's always this beautiful paradox with diving on essentially being in that relaxed, beautiful state. And yet, if we want to explore our comfort zone or expand our comfort zone, I should say, it's going to bring out that slightly kind of sympathetic response, which is going to like bring in more tension. And so, as you beautifully said before, it's like deepening that relationship with resistance. So
Yeah. And again, getting into like rewriting the stories and that kind of thing, you say, we can't take our survival strategies into the water. And it's actually like, well, we can, whether we want to or not.
Well,
But
we
it's
do.
actually,
Yes. Yeah.
and we do.
Yeah.
And it's actually like, but are those survival strategies serving us, right? Which I sort of feel like is the ground layer, base layer of what we're trying to get at
Yeah.
is like, what is serving me? What is this survival strategy actually helping me survive here?
Yeah.
Right? And in that case, it's not,
Yeah.
right? It's actually making it, it's doing all sorts of things that do not help you survive, literally,
Yes.
right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And so, in fact, it's not a valid survival strategy. And it's an opportunity to come up with different strategies that do serve us.
Yes.
Um,
Yeah,
which,
beautiful. Yeah.
yeah, that's I, yeah, I feel like again, I keep saying this, but the point of all self-improvement work, right? Which I remember before I started freediving, I heard all these people saying about it's not just freediving, it's life and it's, spiritual, it transforms you. And I was just like, oh, what is this hogwash? But then I did it. And I was like, okay, I get it.
Drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah. Like I said at the very beginning, I felt like it was a thing that forced me and brought up anything and everything that wasn't working in like a very holistic way in my entire life.
Yes. Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Evan, thank you so much. This has been so wonderful talking with you. I'm super excited that you're going to be facilitating a Wild Within workshop. I will leave all the details for people because I know it's going to be a magical experience. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your time and your wisdom with us today. Is there anything else that you kind of would like to sort of share or finish on or wish that I'd asked?
I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing everyone in the water. Really, that's it.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks so much. And yeah, I hope the listeners enjoy it.